6 years ago, I believed I was the happiest man in the world. My wife, Emily, and I met at a university club. I confessed my feelings for her, and we started dating. We spent a lot of time together, going to hamburger joints, watching recommended movies on DVD, and going on drives. We had a great time together. After dating for a while, we moved in together. When we both got jobs and settled into our routines, I proposed and we got married. We were delighted every day as husband and wife. When Emily received phone calls at home, she would say, "Yes, this is the Miller residence," looking a little nervous. I loved watching her like that. We wanted our first wedding anniversary to be unforgettable, so we planned a trip to the beach. I took the afternoon off and stopped by a jewelry store to buy a surprise gift for Emily. As soon as I walked out of the store, the cell phone in my bag rang. "Am I speaking with Mr. Miller?" It was the police. At that instant, I felt all the blood drain from my body. Could it be that Emily was involved in some kind of incident? Such thoughts crossed my mind. The cop on the other end of the phone began to explain quietly and monotonously. A fire had broken out in a building next to the station that housed several restaurants. Emily was in the midst of a business meeting at a restaurant near the scene of the fire. The corridor was stacked with cardboard boxes, so the fire spread quickly. The flames did not reach Emily's restaurant, but it was rapidly engulfed in black smoke. The officer explained that she was rushed to the emergency room unconscious. "Oh my God, okay, I'll be right there." I was shocked and terrified, but I quickly grabbed a cab and hurried to the hospital where Emily had been taken. The 30 minutes it took to get to the hospital seemed like hours. My heart was beating faster and faster. Please, please let her be safe, I prayed. My prayers, however, did not reach God. When I got to the hospital, I saw Emily with her face covered by a white cloth. The doctor in charge was explaining something to me, but I couldn't understand a word. I sat there, strengthless, my mind blank and unable to think of anything. After a while, I returned to work and spent my days just doing my job. That was all I could do. I sat there, helpless, my mind blank, unable to accept the reality. Then one day, on the 5th anniversary of Emily's death, something unexpected happened. Miss Miller, our department's administrative assistant, had opted to take maternity leave. During her 6-month absence, a temporary employee would be hired to fill her position. On the following Monday morning, Emma, our new office clerk from the temp agency, was introduced to us. "I'll be here for only 6 months, but I look forward to working with you all," she said, bowing slightly. The manager looked at me and beckoned. "Logan, can I have a moment with you?" Then he turned to Emma. "You can work with Logan for a while to learn all the jobs." As he explained this to Emma, I couldn't stop staring at her. My heart raced, but I managed to keep my cool somehow. "I'm Logan. It's nice to meet you," I said, though I felt I was staring at her for too long. She looked exactly like Emily, my wife who had passed away. It was uncanny, as if she were a reincarnation of Emily. Oh no, so I'm going to be her mentor, I thought. "Emma, how good are your computer skills?" I asked. She smiled and replied, "I understand all the basics," looking me firmly in the eye. Emily had the same tendency to smile first when she answered something she was sure of. Later that evening, I saw Emma doing data entry, and our eyes met. I quickly tried to avert my gaze, but she stood up and walked over to me, smiling. "Here you go," she said, offering me candy. "You must be tired from working so hard, Logan. When you feel tired, take some glucose." Her words were eerily familiar. Emily had said something similar to me while I was working on a project at home. It hit me then. I was looking for Emily and Emma. Emma was puzzled by me. Logan is not a difficult person to approach, but he appears sad at times, or is it my imagination? She wondered. When I ask him questions about his work, he is very polite, but when I ask about his family, he almost stops talking. What concerns me the most is that I have never seen Logan smile. Maybe he's going through something painful, but I shouldn't interfere in other people's private lives. Despite her resolve, Emma couldn't help but wonder how painful it must be for him to go through daily life without a smile. A month later, I arrived at work early to finish documents for the following day's joint presentation by 3 companies. I heard commotion from our department and approached the manager. "Sir, what's going on?" I asked. The manager looked distressed. "A lightning strike last night caused problems with most of the company's computers. The computer on your desk is also affected. It won't even turn on." The contents for the presentation were strictly confidential and couldn't be copied to a USB or any external media. Jesus Christ, I muttered, feeling the weight of the situation. No matter what, we'll just have to remake the materials today. Our department manager was panicking, but I tried to remain calm as I told him, "Do you have a computer available right now? I'll do everything I can to recreate the materials," I said, determined to tackle the task. Emma arrived at work a little early, so I asked her to assist me in gathering data. Before we knew it, it was already 6 p.m., the end of the workday. "I'll take care of the rest," I told Emma, but she smiled and insisted, "No, I'll stay here too. There are still some tasks I can do, right?" "Emma, I don't think I'll be able to finish this before midnight, so you should go home," I replied. "Any additional overtime work would breach your contract with the temp agency." "Oh, I see," she mumbled. "I understand. Then, if you'll excuse me." She walked out after punching the clock. An hour later, she returned. "Wait a minute, Emma. I thought you left," I said, surprised. Emma smiled at me and said, "It's faster if we do it together. This is volunteer work, so it doesn't count against my temp agency contract," and she stuck her tongue out playfully. "But first, let's eat something. They say you can't fight a battle on an empty stomach." She brought out fried rice, salad, and soup she had purchased and placed them on the desk. "I appreciate it, but you really won't be able to catch the last train. Please go home after you eat," I tried to persuade her. But she was stubborn. She never changed her mind once it was made up. I was amazed by how much she resembled Emily, even in times like this. I saw my wife in her. "Does this trans explanation need to include a graph, Logan?" she asked. "Yes, we must include a graph from a Chilean experiment on the strands of metals, but I'll check it later," I replied. I was thinking of having her work on the domestic data in the meantime. "It's okay, I'll do it. I understand Spanish," she said with a smile. Her Spanish skills were impressive. She even discovered a foreign website for metal experiments that I had missed and translated it into English as she proceeded. Finally, at 4 a.m., the document was completed. Thanks to Emma, we finished 3 hours earlier than I had expected. She made me 2 cups of coffee. "I'm glad it's done," she said, smiling. Then I decided to ask her something that had been bothering me for a long time. "Hey, Emma, this is a picture of my wife. Do you know her by any chance?" I showed her a picture of Emily that I had saved on my phone. She appeared shocked for a minute, but her face immediately became sorrowful, and she said with tears in her eyes, "I know her. I know her well. So Logan, you were Emily's husband." "Yes." "Were you close to Emily? Were you 2 friends?" "We've never met before, have we?" I asked. She started talking little by little. "Emily and I are cousins, and we grew up together. We spent every day together until I graduated from junior high school. But when my father was transferred overseas, the whole family had to go to Spain. My father was reassigned to return to the headquarters 2 years ago, and the entire family returned together. I couldn't make it to Emily's wedding or funeral." As she spoke, more tears welled up in her eyes. "After I came back to America, I wanted to at least visit her grave. I went to the address listed on the card to report our return, but she had already moved away." "I'm sorry, I didn't realize you went all the way there." "I'm very sorry," I said, feeling a wave of guilt. Even though she had been crying, she burst out laughing as I bowed my head. "Logan, you're exactly like Emily said you were." I wondered what Emily had said about me. Emma explained, "Every time I spoke with Emily on the phone, she always mentioned you. She told me you were the most sincere and kindest person in the world." Emma's words brought back memories, and I found myself naturally smiling. "Logan, this is the first time I've seen you smile. Thank God. I thought you were one of those people who never smiled," she said, surprised. I realized then that I hadn't smiled in the 5 years since Emily died. I must have made people around me feel uncomfortable. I felt sorry for Emma too. "Tell me more about Emily," I said, and Emma's face lit up with joy. "Sure, I will definitely be there," she replied eagerly, repeating it several times. We were probably a bit delirious from pulling an all-nighter and ended up having a long conversation. We left the office shortly after, concerned about the presentation scheduled for that day. The joint presentation by the 3 companies was a great success. Emma, with her background in Spain, demonstrated her Spanish skills by gathering and translating information from Spain and Chile into clear English. The presentation materials, which she simplified, were well received. The manager smiled from beginning to end. A few days passed, and Sunday came. As promised, Emma visited my house. She stared at Emily's picture for more than 20 minutes while I brewed Emily's favorite tea, orange pekoe. She noticed it immediately. "This is the tea that Emily and I liked," she said, smiling as she took a sip, perhaps recalling old memories. Then she became solemn and began speaking while looking directly at me. "Logan, it's been about a month since I've been with you in the office. Until the other day, when we stayed up all night to prepare the presentation materials, I had never seen you smile happily. I imagine the last 5 years have been difficult and sad. But why don't we end it now? I'm sure Emily was most concerned and heartbroken when your smile vanished." Her words hit me like a hammer. It was as if I had been awakened. I wondered what Emily would say if she saw me devoid of joy, rage, grief, or happiness. She might still be a warrior, unable to reach heaven because she was worrying about me. "I'm sorry, that was a bit arrogant of me," Emma said, lowering her head. "No, you're right. I can't keep making Emily worry forever. I'm sure you've been worried about me for this past month, too. I sincerely apologize," I said. Emma smiled. "It's okay. Thank you for understanding. And thank you for letting me see Emily today." She spoke in the same honest and kind tone as Emily, showing care for others. I started to believe that maybe Emily had brought her to our company. After that, Emma often came to my house, bringing gorgeous flowers and tasty treats as gifts to place in front of Emily's picture. We started going out to movies and dinners together. Emma was a bit more strong-willed than Emily, and when she got angry, she would speak in Spanish, but I grew to enjoy it all. Today is the anniversary of Emily's death. Emma and I visited her grave, which I had been visiting alone for the previous 5 years. She polished Emily's grave carefully and lovingly. We placed flowers, candles, and Emily's favorite cheesecake. "Emily, I know you've been worried about me since you died. Please accept my apologies. But I have something important to tell you today. I'll be happy with Emma, and every year on the anniversary of your death, I'll come to tell you that we are living happily together, so you don't have to worry anymore," I said. Emma laughed through her tears and spoke to the grave. "You know, Emily, Logan is kind of weird, isn't he?" I wondered if I had said something strange, but then she added, "Who proposes to someone in front of a grave? Forget it, Emily, you will be the witness to this proposal." We looked at each other and laughed, then stood side by side and prayed. "I'm not going to let you worry about me anymore. I swear we'll be happy, I promise." I felt that Emily was smiling in front of us as I made that promise.